afternoon, everybody. Nick Monticelli here live in the Local 4 newsroom with Leah Carter, Elliott's mom. If you hear any screaming in the background, that's because Elliot has joined us. He looks adorable in his green shirt and blue tie. His big sisters, Reese and Mackenzie, are offside in the camera. Braden, his other big brother, is back there. He's kind of cranky today.
He is a little cranky today. He's in a mood.
So we have a ton of things to talk about today. All the things that have happened in Elliott's life, all the updates that have happened since Cincinnati. You're finally back home after close to a month. But before we do any of that, we are going to look back at how we got here and all the community support, all the things that have happened. So take a look at the extended cut of Elliot Carter's story.
Oh, milk. Yes, that's milk.
The smile Elliot Carter wears is infectious, which keeps spirits around here lifted. Mom and Dad, Leah and Dan Carter, do this same stressful packing routine almost every single week.
When we travel, we have to do this.
You may remember Elliot Carter. He has a severely rare condition. The 20-month-old can't really eat anything. Doctors originally thought he had FPIES, food protein-induced enterocolitis syndrome, which would make him allergic to protein, which is in everything. But he also has mast cell activation disorder, so whatever food he might be able to eat, his body sees as a threat. He still could have those conditions, but they may be underlying issues to his main problem, which doctors still can't figure out. Right now, the only thing Elliot can eat is breast milk, but it doesn't have enough nutrients to sustain him. Oh, and he can't have ice. That's his snack. Something they found is as Elliot gets older, he's much more aware.
And he literally will crawl on the ground like a dog and look for things.
Once, one of his older siblings accidentally dropped a piece of trick cereal. Elliot found it and ate it. The consequences lasted 5 days.
Severe diarrhea, and he's really in pain and uncomfortable.
Another time, he got a hold of toothpaste and loved it, something that had a flavor. He was clawing his way back up to the counter, screaming and fighting for one little taste. Leah says he eventually laid down, defeated.
He's literally just desperate at this point, and that's what kills me. Of course, I'm going to cry. That was the hardest day we've probably had. All of the hospital stays, all of the surgeries and interventions, that is probably the worst day that we've had in a really long time.
To keep him alive, doctors were forced to put him on what's called TPN, Total Parental Nutrition. It's the nutrients you need to survive put directly into your bloodstream. For Elliot, it worked wonders. Just look at the difference after just 1 month.
He's gained like 5.5 pounds, close to 6 pounds. We noticed a difference, what would you say, within like hours of him starting the TPN.
But the victory was short-lived. Eventually, Elliot developed staph infections in his lines, blood clots, anemia, nerve damage, abnormal blood work, heart irregularities, and more. All the complications have landed Elliot in the hospital every single month since October.
It was like one thing after another. The line ended up itself was infected and they couldn't save it, so they had to pull that. And as they're trying to place the new PICC line in the other arm, they're hitting blood clot after blood clot.
And every time they're there, his dad and big brother and sisters come for as long as they can.
Who's that? They have such a bond. He knows who they are. He waits for them to get home from school. They love him to death.
You know who else loves him? Apparently everyone who meets him or has even heard his story. New Haven High School dedicated an entire basketball game to him with that custom Elliots Strong chant. The team wore their Elliots Army shirts, which is a fundraiser to help with the Carter's expenses. Also, a leadership class at Fitzgerald High School in Warren spent months on several projects, including a book drive where they donated 5,000 books in Elliott's name to 2 elementary schools and $1,000 to the family.
And they also made him a book, which is pretty awesome. So about Elliot being having a super smile, and he saves the world with his super smile and his power pack, which is his backpack. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. They were great students for sure.
One of the most overwhelming things, though, is this. Moms from all over the country sticking to a strict diet and donating their breast milk. Again, the only thing Elliot can eat. And at first, it wasn't easy to get.
especially when it's coming from Texas and California, and we're having to overnight it so that it stays frozen. So it is a well-oiled machine at this point. We have it down to a science. Here, let's put your backpack on.
One of the Carter's goals throughout this, aside from finding a cure, is raising awareness. And boy, are people aware. His story has spread nationally and internationally.
He has followers in Egypt and Australia and Mexico, Europe, all over the place.
But even with international attention, Elliot still isn't any better.
What about like Lysol wipes?
So this next trip is to Cincinnati Children's Hospital, hoping experts there will have an answer.
I don't need a name for what he has. I don't need an official diagnosis. I just want to see a year from now. I want to see 5 years from now. I want to know that he's going to be with us.
Say bye-bye.
Oh, sorry. See you in a few days.
But in typical Elliot fashion, the trip didn't go exactly to plan.
You know, the push is to get him off TPN, but I feel like we're never going to get there unless we figure something out, you know.
While in Cincinnati, his blood work was abnormal. Instead of getting answers, they were running into more problems.
We worry about this not being as worse as it could get, and not knowing what it is or knowing how to stop it is probably the hardest part.
Make that one of the hardest parts. There was a small glimmer of hope that after 3 weeks, Elliot might get to go home.
Mouse?
So his family came. They packed up the room only to be met with more disappointment. More bad tests, and Elliot wouldn't get to leave after all. Dad, his sisters, and brother would have to leave them behind again.
No, I thought he was coming home today.
No. You're going to have to FaceTime me or thing tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
Are you singing or are you talking? What's your part?
I don't know.
It's okay. All right. Are you singing?
Missing out on spring concerts, dances, basically your other 3 kids as you're forced to devote time to one. That's the other hardest part.
We're forced. We're forced to choose, so it's tough.
But just as tough is Elliot. Despite being tied to an IV pole, despite being stuck in a hospital, despite not being able to eat, that smile is the only good infectious thing in the entire hospital.
I pray that we figure out whatever it is, and that the prognosis is promising and that we can give him the best life he can give him. But in the meantime, nobody is promised tomorrow. And when you're facing the kinds of things that he's facing, it's hard not to look that way. But I'm going to do my best to make sure that whatever the time looks like is going to be the best life he could possibly live.
I think a lot of people have had a difficult time watching Elliot's story without crying over and over and over again. And every time I talk to you, you always have your composure. You always have this air about you that there's nothing wrong and you are going to defeat this. How do you hold that composure?
I don't always have it together. Let's just be very clear on that. But I just have to stay hopeful, and just the support that we have behind us has been so incredible that it really helps to keep us going.
So speaking of support, we have close to 500 people watching on Facebook Live right now. We are looking at your comments. So if you have any questions for Leah or myself, please go ahead. We're looking right now. Hoda saying, "Oh my gosh, the story makes me cry." Carol, Dave, or Dove writing, "You're all in my prayers." Nicole Marie saying, "That smile, that it is that smile." And we're going to talk a lot about all these things, but while we have him on the line, you may have heard a phone ring when that story was airing. That was us dialing up Dr. Devang Doshi, one of Elliott's specialists. He's an allergist specialist based at Royal Oak Beaumont. He's currently on vacation down south, but he thought this was so important that he had to join us. So, Doctor, thank you so much for being with us. I think one of the most important questions that everybody wants to know is, why can't we find a solution? Why can't we figure out what's wrong with Elliot yet?
Well, unfortunately, it's one of those things where, we know a lot about a lot of different diseases and states in medicine, and there are a lot of unknowns, unfortunately, out there. And Elliot, unfortunately, falls into this unknown category. So we've been trying our best to try to determine exactly what is going on with him as far as disease. The main thing is that we haven't really found exactly what is going on, but we're trying to manage him as best as possible.
So one of the things that you early said is that Elliot had FPIES and mast cell activation disorder. Is that still part of the problem, or is that an underlying issue to what you think might be going on now?
Yeah, so that's probably part of it because, with FPIES, I mean, there's a wide range of patients that are unable to tolerate proteins in their gut. And so, unfortunately, Elliot has not been able to tolerate a lot of different proteins. And so he's been very limited and restricted in terms of what he can tolerate. So I think FPIES or a more severe form of FPIES is probably one of the things. The other thing that we've been working on is presuming that there's some sort of a mast cell activation issue. There's not a definitive test that will tell us yes or no, especially because he's on a limited diet. So we're still sort of working with those two entities right now, but it probably will be some variation of those.
So, Dr. Doshi, Kate Brissett on Facebook is asking, what is your latest theory right now? What do you think he has?
Yeah, I would probably venture off right now and say it's probably a combination of both of those, a severe FPIES with mast cells still, because we haven't really been able to disprove either one yet.
So how frustrating is this for you? I mean, you've dedicated your entire life to helping children, and you've got Leah and this adorable kid with this smile that lights up the entire building here at Local 4, and we can't figure out what's wrong with him yet.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the most frustrating things that we see in medicine. I mean, the best thing that we can ever do is make a positive impact and improve someone's quality of life. And anyone that's met Elliot has known that he's just such a special guy. It's very, very frustrating when we can't find answers and we're stuck, trying to search for those answers. So we've gone out of our way to try to send him to the right places, to get the right resources available, or people that are doing research in those areas to simply just find an answer to help him find a way to live.
Leah, you have told me a couple of times that Dr. Doshi is like the bomb.
Yes.
Why do you love him so much? And he's listening now.
Well, Dr. Doshi has been with us for many years. Our older son had a lot of medical issues, and Dr. Doshi still says to this day is one of the sickest babies that he's ever seen. If you can believe that, our other son was sick like Elliot, just a totally different thing. And he has fought for us every step of the way when it came to Braden, our older son, and with Elliot. So we have just developed such a trust with each other. We communicate so well because we've been together for almost a decade now. And I know he's going to be real with me and I'm real with him. And I think that's so important when we're dealing with somebody like Elliot where we don't really know, that we have that relationship where we can communicate like that, and we have that trust with each other, which I think is so essential.
So, Dr. Doshi, Honey Kush on Facebook writing, my son has similar issues and cannot tolerate any food. What is the latest research into mast cell activation disorders? How's it going?
Yeah, so they really haven't identified any type of genetic testing as of yet. I mean, we do have some tests, but those tests are very, very difficult to get. They have to be run properly, and the lab has to be willing to obtain those tests for us. They have to be run very meticulously, and finding a lab that's going to be able to run the test in the right way would help us. But a lot of experts in the field also state that when you do have some normal test results and the patient still has those symptoms, you really still can't exclude that underlying diagnosis.
So I guess this is the question that needs to be asked, but we hate to ask it. Will Elliot be okay?
I mean, we certainly hope so. I mean, we're doing everything that we possibly can to continue to support him so that he's growing, and the TPN that he's been getting with nutritional support has been helping, until we can identify a way to support him without the need for being stuck on TPN.
All right, so before we let you go, Dr. Doshi, you have to show us your view. We practiced this Facebook chat yesterday, and he was such a jerk. He picked up his laptop and showed me. What does it look like outside right now?
It's really sunny and hot, and I really hate saying that online. It's about 85 degrees, and the sun is shining, and I see the ocean. That's why I purposely turned the camera the other way.
We appreciate that. It's about to be monsoon here in Metro Detroit. All right, Dr. Doshi, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time and really giving us an opportunity to talk about what Elliot's going through.
Yeah, my pleasure. If anyone's met Elliot and seen the story, obviously they've been clearly as touched as all of us have been, and I don't think there's anybody that would do anything. Everybody would go out of their way to do anything they could to help him and his extraordinary family. So all the best to him.
Including
his
parents. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Doshi, thank you very much.
Enjoy vacation.
Thank you.
So one thing, Leah, that you had talked about in the last story that aired was the older that Elliot gets, the more that he is realizing all the things that he's missing out on.
Yeah.
We talked about Trick cereal and toothpaste.
Yeah.
What happened?
He's just desperate to eat anything, and he got a hold of toothpaste a couple months ago and licked it, and it was
Just a lick, one lick.
Just a lick, and he had a flavor, he had a taste, and that was all it took. And he was absolutely desperate for more. He just laid on the bathroom floor. It was probably one of the hardest days that we've had, but he laid on the bathroom floor for probably an hour, and I just got down there with him and laid with him after a while because he was defeated. He was climbing the cabinets and trying to scale back up there to grab the toothpaste just to try it again, and that's devastating. That's just to see. I said in that day, that is what true desperation looks like. That's somebody who's truly trying to save their own life.
So how do you make it better? I think you say you went to the aquarium.
We did go to the aquarium. He loves fish. He absolutely loves fish. So we went to the aquarium because that's his happy place. So he soon let it go after that, but I don't think he truly forgets because he still truly goes for that toothpaste all the time.
He still wants the toothpaste.
All the time.
When we started talking back in, I think it was September, maybe October, November, it all kind of blurs together after
I
a
know,
while.
it's been a while.
You said that you had two goals. Number one was to find a cure for Elliot and make this adorable kid better. Second is you wanted to raise awareness. You wanted people to know what was going on and kind of form a support group. And I think that the support group and awareness has really skyrocketed.
Oh, yeah. Our Army, our Elliots Army, as we call them, is, I think, close to 5,000 strong at this point, from people all over the world. I mean, we have people on every continent cheering him on at this point. So our goal was to spread the awareness, and I think we're getting there. There's still a lot of unknowns, like Dr. Doshi had said. So we're just hoping that people realize that this is a true thing, and Elliot's not the only child who's suffering out there, and we need to be conscious of that.
Well, in fact, you said that you've got kind of a BFF at Cincinnati Children's, right?
We do.
A child going through almost identical symptoms.
Yeah, he's a little bit older than Elliot, but it was through the story back when it first aired, the first time, that someone had sent it to this child's mother, and she reached out to me, and it's very striking how similar they are. He's a couple years older than Elliot, so he's a little bit further in the progression of the disease, whatever this is, but just to have her in my corner. And it was just happened. It was a twist of fate that the last time we were admitted, they were literally admitted with us 3 doors down. So we got to meet in person, and now it's just going to become a lifelong friendship.
And they're local, right?
They're not local.
They're not local.
They're not local. They travel to Cincinnati as well. Yeah.
How much does that mean for you to have someone else in your corner, someone else that you can walk down the hallway and bounce ideas off of, or cry, or yell, whatever it is you want to do?
Yeah, it's funny. We talked last night over text, and we're waiting on some test results. They're waiting on some test results, and it's really hard when you're in this position and you have an undiagnosed child, because you're almost hoping those tests come back as something, and it's hard to say that to people who have not been in that position, and she gets that. She's waiting on test results, we are too, and we're just hoping it shows something so that we have an answer. So it's just somebody that totally gets what you're going through.
You said that you are waiting on genetic testing. It's the last time we talked in Cincinnati.
Yes.
Do you have those results?
We do not have those results yet. It can take up to 3 months. They did put a rush on it because of Elliot's severity. So we are hoping in the next few weeks we will get results from that. We did do some blood work testing to try and figure out why Elliot's having some blood clotting issues.
He's shaking his butt behind you.
He likes to dance. The music is in this baby's soul, that's for sure. He likes to shake his groove thing.
Have you considered a bone marrow transplant?
So a bone marrow transplant for us would be like a Hail Mary pass. When we get to the point that there is nothing else that we can do, it could be an option depending on what this comes back as. If it is truly something autoimmune, it could be an option, but we're going to exhaust all other choices before we get to that.
So we talked about awareness. You also talked early on about the thing that is keeping him alive, aside from the TPN, is the only thing he can eat, which is breast milk.
Yes.
And that's amazing because, as you see from the photos, you've been getting thousands and thousands of bags. Where are these coming from?
So we have a group, a breastfeeding, breast milk donation group set up. 2 of my good friends are running that for me, which is amazing. And they have sort of collaborated a donation page where people are able to donate milk that's safe for Elliot. And we have a shipping process down now. We have, you know, how to package it correctly. So it's pretty awesome. We've gotten milk from New Jersey to Texas to California. It's all over the place.
Are the supplies still good though?
No, right now we just put out a post on our page, our donation page, that we are low, scary amount low. So right now that's beneficial. The TPN gives Elliot everything he needs, but the breast milk helps us to keep his gut working still, because one of the side effects of TPN is that his intestines won't work anymore. So we are keeping that going as long as we possibly can.
And the donations are necessary because, I mean, Elliot is almost 2 years old now. It's not like
Yes.
you're making a whole lot of milk anymore.
No, and honestly, he's pretty much done nursing. When he's been sick so many times and in the hospital, it's almost, he just didn't even have the energy to do it. So, yeah, we're bottom of the barrel over here for sure.
All right, so there's the call. Everybody who's watching, start pumping.
Soy and dairy-free breast milk is what we need.
All right, so community involvement and support has been huge for you.
Yeah.
All the different people that have been involved. But there's this one group that, for some reason, whenever you see it, whenever many moms see it, they start to cry. It's the New Haven cheerleading team. Take a listen.
Oh, yeah.
So that's their chant, "We are Elliot Strong," and that was at a basketball game that was dedicated to Elliot. You'll see here in the video, they had a special section on the bleachers set up just for you guys.
Yeah.
There was the basketball team wearing your Elliots Army shirts. How much does this mean to you?
Oh, see, like that makes me tear up. And it's just because we have such a support system behind us. And these are students who are really touched by Elliot's story and just making an effort on their own and wanting to contribute and wanting to bring awareness, and it touches me. It really, really does. So
Before I forget, I want to jump back real quick. Mandy Gonzalez is asking, what is the process for donating milk?
So we do have a Facebook page, the breast milk donation page for Elliot, and on there it lists all the instructions that you need to be able to ship it safely and effectively. We pay for everything. Elliot we have a fund set up specifically for this that pays for shipping because it is really costly to ship overnight. And we will pay for all supplies that are needed as well and send you the label. And we take care of everything as long as you can get it in the cooler and it's safe milk. We need dairy-free and soy-free breast milk is what is compatible for Elliot. He does react to those proteins in the milk. So, but it's a truly easy, we have it set up that it's an easy process. We have it pretty much down to a science at this point.
You said the page. What's the page called? How do they find it?
Elliott's breast milk donation page. And it's,
Is it on Facebook?
It is on Facebook.
Okay.
Yep, it's through Facebook, and you can, if you're on Elliots Army page, you can find it on there's a link for it as well.
Got it. Okay, so
Yep.
there's another person that I'm going to get the computer set up for and see if we can get a second video chat. Where'd my cursor go? There we go. We'll get this one. Not that one. We'll find it. I've done this once before. We can figure it out. There she is. All right, here we go. Put that one over there. Okay. John Steckroth is the man running everything back there. All right, so the second group that we wanted to talk about is Fitzgerald High School. And for some reason, this high school that you went to high school at,
Yeah,
right?
it's my
in
alma
Warren,
mater. Yep.
they got behind Elliot in an amazing fashion. We're hoping Sarah Sonnenfeld connects. If your phone is on, press your button. If not, we'll talk a little bit.
Sorry if you can hear Elliot.
That's okay. Oh, here she comes. Here comes Sarah, and hi, Elliot. You're going to
Hi,
see Elliot in just a
Elliot.
minute. It says connected. Can you hear us, Sarah? We can see it, but we can't see it. Oh, there it is. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
There we are.
Hey, guys. All right, so we want to show a couple of things before we get into our conversation with Sarah. But Sarah is a teacher at Fitzgerald High School, the leadership class there, which takes seniors in. They did several different projects. The first one was a public service announcement. So just take a couple of seconds to watch this. John is back there pressing buttons as fast as he can.
Hang on, baby.
Yeah. Why?
We do not have glad and sincere hearts as we watch him imitate our mouth movements as we are eating, knowing how badly he wants to eat too.
No pressure. Yeah.
Instead, we give our baby an empty spoon, a straw, and a mesh feeder bag filled with ice cubes at each meal. You guys, time to eat. Coming.
She must be there. Trying to figure out if she.
We do not have.
All right, so that is a part of a public service. By the way, welcome, Elliot. Hey,
Elliot,
buddy.
say hi.
Check out this tie, everybody. Look at this. How adorable
We
is
got
this?
spiffy for you guys today.
All right, so Sarah and one of the senior students over at Fitzgerald, that's Jordan Shaw, they worked on these projects. And Jordan, you worked on this PSA. Why did you want to get involved with this? Why is Elliot Carter, who lives in New Haven, relevant to you and Warren?
I just wanted to be a part of helping somebody that was a part of our Fitzgerald family. And I just felt that like this was one of the perfect ways to do it.
Well, which is amazing. And I know, Sarah, the rest of the students, including Jordan, you worked on a couple of different things. You had 3 projects. You had the public service announcement. You had a book drive, which the backstory is, correct me if I'm wrong, Leah, they said they wanted to get maybe a couple hundred books, and they ended up with, Sarah, what was it, like 5,000 books?
Yeah.
Yes, it was over 5,000 bucks.
5,000 books.
I
Okay,
had no
so
idea what 5,000 books looks like.
what was the project and what were you attempting to do?
Well, in leadership class, I always challenge the students to come up with some kind of school community outreach project. And I showed the story that you shared on Channel 4 in my class, and they were inspired. And so we decided to use their skill sets, which were film and storytelling and just sellers and closers. And so we came up with all these ideas.
Well, the book drive was amazing, which I know there was a bank that got involved and ended up donating, you can see back here, $1,000 to the Carters. Which bank was it? Let's give them some public love.
That was Extra Credit Union. They've always been a tremendous partner to Fitzgerald Public Schools and just education in general. The students wrote a letter to them just saying that this is what we're hoping to do. This is our goal. Can you provide the Carter family with some kind of financial assistance? And as soon as they got the letter, they said, let's do this. So again, a huge thank you to the Extra Credit Union and Ashley Fordyce for working with us.
Elliot's getting very mad at me because he wants my phone. We'll get there. All right, so something else that we wanted to talk about too was the comic book. I know the students actually made a comic book that was all about Elliot and his super smile.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So we had some students that are artists and students that are great writers, and so let's write a children's book. So they banded together and they wrote a story about Captain Super Smile. And the whole book, they put everything on Google Slide, and then we went over to Walgreens and we constructed an actual book. And so we read that to all the students in our district when we delivered the books to them. Then we read the book to them that they wrote.
I love this story. And his smile is so powerful, I guess it probably could save the world.
It probably could. It's pretty awesome.
Yes.
All right, Sarah, Jordan, thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining us
guys.
this afternoon. I know that Leah, you mean a lot to her. She said that over and over again. So thanks for taking your time. I know, Jordan, you're on spring break too, so thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
No problem.
Thanks, Nick. Love you, Leah. Bye, Elliot.
They say they love you.
We love you guys too.
All right, so before we close this out, there's a couple of other topics that we have to talk about. One of the highlights or most emotional moments in both stories so far have been how this is taking a toll on your family and the rest of your children. And I think we should have everybody come in. Mackenzie is here, Reese, come over here, guys.
The gang's all here, guys.
Braden is throwing a stress ball
No,
down the
he's
hallway
down
somewhere
here.
right now.
He's laying on
Oh,
the
is he
ground.
hiding down there?
Can you say hi?
So,
See?
well, first of all, let's
there.
look back at this clip that happened in Cincinnati. Reese got a little upset, and don't get mad at me. We're going to show it again, okay?
You're not coming home with us? Honey, I can't come home. I thought he was coming home today.
No.
But you said he was.
Well, the plan was hopefully, but he's still having too much poop and stuff. You're gonna have to FaceTime me or thing tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
Are you singing or are you talking? What's your part?
I don't know.
It's okay. All right. You're singing? Okay. Love you.
Love you.
Don't cry. Mama.
All right. So Reese is getting upset with us again, which is okay.
It's
It's an
okay.
emotional thing, and especially because you told me in Cincinnati that it's difficult because you love all of your kids just as much.
Oh, yeah.
Mackenzie, Reese, Braden, Elliot. But you spend, what, 80% of your time with him, if not more?
Yeah. Oh, easily. Easily. And there's, Kenzie says 99%. He's complex, and there's not.
But he smiles so much.
I know, and it's hard because there's just not. We can't just leave him with a babysitter. We can't just leave him at the hospital. And when you're forced to choose as often as we are, it's difficult. It's really difficult. And I know they miss us like crazy when we're gone. And it's not just down the street. We're 6 hours away, and so it's difficult.
So I know Reese and Braden and Mackenzie. What's awesome about the three of you, though, is that as difficult as this is, you've all told me that you get it. So I think, Reese, you're the only one close enough to a microphone. Can you tell me why you understand and why? I know it's so difficult, but you're okay with it?
I don't really know.
But about just Elliot being sick, and you understand why we have to go, and yeah. Reese did something pretty amazing.
Yeah, so you were at Cincinnati Children's and you realized that their wagons, we didn't have enough wagons or they weren't any good. Tell me about that.
Dumb.
And I raised money to buy new wagons for them.
All of Facebook is crying right now.
So Reese realized when she was at Cincinnati Children's that the kids didn't have wagons, and there weren't enough. There's not enough. And Reese took it upon herself to host a bake sale to raise money to buy new wagons for Cincinnati Children. And she has raised now close to $1,000 for them.
Wow, how many wagons can that buy?
That's going to buy a lot of wagons, but we did get a list from them of things that they needed outside of just wagons. So they're going to be getting new crib toys, new things for the parents to kind of make their lives and their stays a little bit easier. So she is making a huge impact for the unit at Cincinnati Children's that Elliot stays on.
So, and we'll show one last piece of video here. When the kids leave you, it's difficult.
Yes.
When the kids show up, as you can see in this video, everyone seems to have this incredible bond.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I know there's some pretty big age gaps between the kids,
Yeah.
but they all seem pretty awesome together.
They are amazing together, and the age gap is, the first three are really close in age, and I think everything happens for a reason, and God has a plan, and his plan was to give us Elliot when he gave him to us, and for our kids to be old enough to understand what he's going through and the impact that it has, and he loves them. He just absolutely loves them. These are his favorite people in the whole world. So we're yeah, I'm his favorite too. But
And Grandma?
and Grandma's over there.
So I know you guys are not in this for any selfish reasons. You're raising awareness
Right.
because it needs to get out there. But there are medical expenses that are piling up.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I know you have a GoFundMe. You've raised some money. You could probably use some more, I'm guessing.
We do have a GoFundMe. We were very hesitant. My mom can attest to that. She asked for months and months and months for us to do it. Elliot might be done. All right, go see Grandma. This is live TV, folks. All right. All right, buddy. Okay. Sorry.
That's a 20-month-old.
So after Elliot's situation kind of took a more severe turn, we finally caved in and allowed them to. We do have a secondary insurance on Elliot that we pay for, but unfortunately the policy is only good in Michigan. So everything out in Cincinnati, the bills
Out
keep
of
coming in
pocket.
for it. So our primary picks up some of it, but a lot of it is not covered. So unfortunately.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? Any lingering issues that people should know about the family or Elliot or the diseases? Or I know one thing that you've been pretty big on is being an advocate and never taking no for an answer.
Yeah. And I think that goes, you know, I've told people, people always say you're so strong, or I don't know how you do it. When you don't have the option, you just do. And it's so important to fight for your loved ones. If you're not going to, nobody else is going to. For us, I just want people to know that we truly are fighting. We get lots of suggestions and recommendations, and we appreciate all of them, and we read all the messages. It's so hard to get back to everybody because we're getting hundreds a day. We appreciate all of them. Just know that we are trying our best for him. We are doing what we think is in his best interest every single day, and we're with the team of doctors that we think are right for him right now. So we appreciate all of it. We appreciate everybody messaging us and just the love they show for our family.
And if you look on Facebook, there have been hundreds and thousands of comments of people just saying they love you
guys.
and they're praying for you. Is there anything, Mackenzie, that you want to talk about?
Don't give kids food if you don't know their allergies.
That's a good
That's probably a good idea.
public service announcement for
Especially
Mackenzie.
if they're allergic to absolutely everything.
Because most of my friends are allergic to like something, just like
that's like
like peanuts or dairy.
stuff spinning.
Reese, any final comments? You just want to go for a ride in the chair? We're going to close things out. We will, of course, continue to follow Leah and Elliot and Reese and Mackenzie and Braden throughout this journey. We're crossing our fingers. We're praying that he's going to be okay. But I think everyone needs to know what's going on, especially because they need to know what's happening in the world of medicine. If something happens, if they find a cure, maybe they can find something for everybody else.
Yes. Thank you, guys. And thank you, Channel 4, for everything you guys have done. You're amazing.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.